Good morning, Jake. Jake,
Oh, bro.
this is one of the tougher days of my adult life. I look pretty good in the yellow, don't I?
It's good to have you. Yeah.
People are going to start thinking I'm Jake Butt when I walk around with this shirt on.
Hey, this is the Button Breneman show, aka the Go Blue show. Adam, happy to have you, bro. You look great. Can you opening statements?
Um, I was at Penn State this weekend. Was at the game. Did some work with Big Ten Network pregame. I'll be honest, the game was not very good for the Penn State faithful. And number two, I got sick after the game, so I'm
Yeah.
still battling the cold from Happy Valley. Penn State will get the best of you sometimes, but we're here. We're here,
Yeah.
and I lived up to my end of the bargain. And while I'm wearing the Michigan shirt, I tried to get a Jake Butt jersey, but they stopped selling those a few years ago. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so
No,
I'm with the
we're
Michigan team.
engineering a supply crisis right now. We want demand to be rising while supply stays fixed. So hard to get your hands on those. If you
Yeah,
notice.
it's a prime time jersey right now. People are just jumping at the bit to get it. What'd you think of the game?
Well, first off, I never a doubt that you're a man of your word. Never a doubt that you were going to show up and do it. Hope there wasn't a doubt on my end, but didn't have to learn this time. But I'm done piling on. I'm done piling on. We could talk about the X's and O's. Certainly, I've lost my fair share of games. There's winners and losers, on and on and on. I just my one of my general themes and takeaways that I find interesting is now we've seen the big three play each other. Ohio State played Penn State,
Yeah.
and then Michigan plays Penn State. And my biggest takeaway is Penn State has been one of the bigger challenges for both teams. And what we saw is both teams, when they needed it most, show you who they really are. Like Joe Klatt called it his out pitch. But like when you need it most, where do you go? Well, Ohio State went to 18. They said we're going to either win or lose by trying to target Marvin Harrison Jr. Michigan said we're going to get in goal line personnel in the middle of the field and just run it. Dare you to stop it. So that was my biggest takeaway is like in those challenging moments, you kind of get to find out a little bit about the identity of the team. And to me, it's pretty clear that even though Michigan's been throwing the ball this year, Ohio State's got a new quarterback, spreading it around a little bit. We know who those teams are when they need it most.
Yeah. I thought on the Michigan side specifically that Coach Moore called one heck of a game. I with all the responsibilities he had as the interim head coach, as the play caller, is he the offensive line coach too?
Yeah. Yeah.
As the offensive line coach, his ability to trust his plan, not worry. I mean, so many coordinators, you know this, Jake, they get their opportunity and they're going to try to air it out, or they're going to try to get their Heisman contending quarterback, 25 throws. How many coordinators, what kind of self-confidence and conviction in your team and knowing the kind of guy you have at quarterback does it take to hand the ball off as much as they did and not worry about how much JJ throws the ball and know that, I mean, the consistency that takes to just play after play after play. I mean, I think, what was it, the last 30 some plays of the game, they threw the ball one time or something.
Yeah.
So I thought he did a great job of just sticking to his plan and with all that he had going on and managed the game the right way. On the flip side, I didn't think James Franklin managed that game very well. I thought that he managed the game in a way that almost felt like he was managing an offensive team. Going for it on 4th and 6 in your own territory. I get it that you're going to need to get a stop, but you're a defensive team. That's how Iowa wins games. That's how Iowa's sitting right now at, with 2 losses because they managed the game the right way. Knowing that you have a great defense, I'd love to see him punt it there. I don't like chasing points early in the game by going for 2. I get that hindsight's 2020, but I felt like Coach Franklin was chasing points a little bit too much and had too much faith in his offense. That offense hadn't gotten 6 yards on a play almost all day, and then they go for it on 4th and 6 in their own territory.
Yeah.
Again, hindsight's 2020, but I thought that game could have been managed better from a 4th down, when to punt perspective for Penn State.
Yeah, it's we'll dive into Iowa here in a brief second, but I've started to make the case of the exact opposite of most people, where they say like people like to take jabs at Iowa and whatever, but To me, the opposite is actually true, where it's like, hey, it takes such discipline and knowledge of who you are as a team, and discernment really is a good word for it, to say this is who we are, and to ask yourself in any individual moment, what is the best way for my team with its current makeup right here in this moment? What's the best way for us to win? And deal with the media and deal with the outside noise and the pressers. Sometimes you'll win, sometimes you lose, but at least you can sleep easy knowing this is the best chance to win. But, chasing points early, this is a funny thing here, because when you go for 2 there going into half, like if you get it, you're down 3, right? Okay, you can make the case. But here's the thing. Early in the game, you understand there's still a bunch of possessions left to go. So you kick the extra point, and now it's a 4-point game, understanding that your next touchdown would make you be winning by 3. So like later in the game is when it gets a little bit more dicey, but earlier in the game, you still have plenty of possessions left. The risk outweighs the reward, in my opinion. But I know that this has been a conversation for Penn State fans for a while.
And it's the momentum of it, right? Penn State goes down the field before halftime, and then they go for 2, and it doesn't even come close to converting it. It's like you can almost feel the air come out of the stadium. It was like, oh, what are we doing? You go into halftime, and now you don't feel very good about when you should feel really good. You don't feel good about where you're at. Jay, I want to ask you: Are you surprised that Coach Franklin made the move to fire Mike Yurcich, like at this point in the season after that game? Because to be honest, it caught me. I knew that Mike Yurcich was officially on the hot seat, and that he may move on from him. But again, this was Coach Franklin fired a different coordinator to get Mike Yurcich after 1 year. So I knew that he wanted to give him a chance. Are you surprised it happened when it did?
First off, before it's never to me like a point. It's never, when these things come up, it's like none of this is funny or like a laughing matter, or a chance to like take jabs. Like, I don't really care what you say. Like, we love our team and all that good stuff, and we have high standards, but like these are human beings, But the fact of the matter is, with that out of the way, like you're brought in with a certain standard and expectation, and what makes football so great is it's pretty black and white. Like, do you meet that expectation or not? And both in the Ohio State and Michigan game, I felt Penn State wasn't really exactly even close. And just by the same question, we know who Michigan is. We know who Ohio State is. I don't believe I can answer the question right now to say, well, this is who Penn State is. I really don't know offensively what their identity is, or what their strengths are, or what area. I've really even seen Drew Aller like grow from his first start to this start. Just simply put, like, those are questions that I think really define an offense's success, and I fail to be able to answer those right now.
Yeah, and you said it perfectly. I think that's the reason he had to make the move. I listened to Coach Franklin's press conference, and he said for one of the first times where he's really opened up about it, he said, at the end of the day, we are judged on 2 games, Ohio State and Michigan, and we failed in both those games. So at some point, you got to make a change. I do think that this hire now for Coach Franklin is the most important he'll make in his tenure.
Yes,
because it's so important. And what makes it even worse, Jake, is how good the defense is. The defense is maybe like actually could make the case for the best in the country, or one of the top 2 or 3. Like, they are so long and athletic, and so many draft picks on that defense. That's what makes it even more frustrating. So this hire for Coach Franklin, I think it'll determine whether Coach Franklin wins a championship at Penn State or not. Who he brings in as his offensive coordinator, it has to be a home run, has to be good for Drew Aller. And as close as Penn State feels to being there, the offense is so far away. They feel so close at times, and you're like, oh, they're right there. They're almost in the elite tier. And then you watch that game, and you're like, they lost by 1 score to Ohio State. They lost by I forget the final, 9 or 8 or whatever it was to Michigan. But like, it just doesn't feel that close when you watch the game. So this hire is very important.
There's little tiers, where I think, as we'll kind of transition into the rankings here, there's the gap between the 4th best team and the 25th best team is probably the same gap between the 25th team and the 75th team, if that makes sense. No, like, it's an exponential growth. It's like a log function. You remember that from geometry class? Log of
I don't remember any of that.
Okay, all right. I don't. Forgive me. Yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. Bad analogy. But so, like, Penn State's really good. They're really good. They're going to
Yeah.
win 10 games. Like they're still right. They're going to beat a lot of teams. And yet,
Yeah.
like you have these small windows of opportunity, like what you're saying, where man, that defense is ready to win a national title.
Yeah.
That defense is good enough. They're holding up their end of the bargain. And the offense is so far off. The offense is good enough to be a really damn good team, but their offense is far away now to say, man, we have this small window of opportunity that's slipping through. And, you know, as far as play calling goes, it's not just about like X's and O's always. It's about what do you do pre-snap? How do you recognize what the defense is presenting? I think about that screen that Michigan ran where they ran the jet motion. Roman Wilson is starting inside on a 3-by-1. First off, just ask yourself, if you could put yourself in a defensive coordinator's shoes, what stresses you? Well, the speedy receiver at number 3 stresses you because now you say, oh, shoot, is a linebacker going to guard him, whatever. Yeah. And then you motion him out. And Kalen King is great at recognizing screens and triggering. But when you motion him out, you widen Kalen King. Manny Diaz brings the blitz, and Michigan has a perfectly timed smoke screen to Samaj Morgan in the slot with 4 blockers for 3 defenders. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Ohio State getting Marvin Harrison Jr. just running free down the field. That's play calling to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's you make a great point, and that makes the point too. Back to Penn State is that's what they don't have right now in offense, and that's why the change had to be made because they never won. At one point in that game, I never felt like Penn State was threatening the defense or manipulating the defense with anything they were doing. And,
that's it.
When that happens, you got to make a change.
That's it. All right, let's go to the West. Seems now West. Well. Yeah, let's go to the West. Well, listen, it's going to be Ohio State or Michigan. They're going to play for a chance to go to Indy. Iowa, chance to clinch. Iowa. Yeah. College football playoff rankings has them 16th. AP has them unranked. I'd like to start there and say which one is right, Adam?
Yeah, I think they're closer to 16th than they are to unranked. Their defense is so good. And as you know, man, like, again, because we've been talking to Penn State, Michigan. Penn State, their defense is one of the best in the country. Their offense is one of the worst in the country, and they're ranked number 12, right? So a really good defense and elite defense can carry your team pretty far. Iowa, if they can get rolling on offense, which they did last week, which with Deacon Hill playing really good football, if that can start to click, watch out. I mean, Iowa can be a decent football team. The offense doesn't have to be great. We don't need 45 points a game. We don't need Deacon Hill air. Like Iowa just needs efficiency on offense. Get some first downs, reserve the right to punt, move the football. What you can't have is 3 and outs. So if they can play the kind of offense they played last week, they got a chance. I think they're much closer to 16 than unranked. I was surprised by that. But curious to hear what you think.
Funny, Coach Brian Ferentz called a phenomenal game. Rutgers is his top 10 defense. They gave Ohio State fits. Brian Ferentz called a great game, and I hear enough of the other end, so I felt it necessary to take the opportunity on the call to say, guys, like he's called a really good game. He's put Deacon Hill in great position, and then the pundits, if you will, said Brian Ferentz calls a good game. I'm like, dude, did you guys watch the game? Like, let's acknowledge what that was. He did a good job, and if they can do that. They're going to win a lot of games down the stretch of the season here. They can make some noise. So I agree. I think they're closer to 16. I think what gets lost in this is what's the business we're in? Is it looking good? Is it scoring points or is it winning games? Yeah. Is it quite in their one punt return, a controversial call away from having one loss right now?
Yeah, which is wild.
How many teams look sexy every weekend and lose? USC. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like how many teams look great but don't win? I'd rather look horrendous and win. Like, listen, man, you ever have sloppy joes? You like sloppy joes growing up?
Oh, like you mean like the barbecue meat?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, come on.
It looks nasty. It's like this is
it looks
disgusting.
Gross. Tastes so good though.
I can house some sloppy joes now, dude. Like that's what I'm talking about here. Like, hey, listen, man, the finished product is what I want to see. The end result is all I care about. So I'm with you on that, man. I just think let's not be foolish here about the end product is pretty impressive for Iowa.
I was thinking about this the other day. Is what I think the Big Ten championship game will look like. I really think Iowa against Ohio State or Michigan is actually going to be a good game, similar to the Penn State games, because of that defense if Deacon Hill can just move the ball a little bit, I mean, I think we'll get good. I don't see that being the lopsided that you may think it will be on paper, right? I don't see that being like the 40-10 game. I think that could be a good matchup.
We will see. Their defense is going to have, if they want to win, I think their defense is going to have to hold either team to like 20 points, you know, and maybe score once or twice. So, all right, man. Well, listen, feel better. Thanks for holding up your end of the bargain. You can feel free to take that one off or leave it on if you want. We'll be happy.
I'm gonna wear it all day.
Yeah,
I'm gonna wear it all day. I just want to feel what it feels like to be a winner. You know?
Yeah, nice. Well, yeah, wear that as much as possible. All right. Well, we got a steak dinner next time we're together too, man.
Yes, sir.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you next week.